Now I am. And there's music. Okay. Hi. How are you? I'm full screen. It's weird. I don't like it. That'll change soon. Well, welcome to the stream. I should pull up chat on my Chromebook and my desktop. I'm kind of gonna be awkwardly switching between like all three of my things. Well, two of my things. Wow. Got Chromebook here to like look at my notes and stuff about what I'm gonna talk about, and then I'm gonna have the video up here during certain parts just to like refer back to when I'm talking about things. So that's gonna be fun. Who all is here? I don't know yet because I don't see chat. I know I saw chat earlier. I know Donnie's here. Hi. And I know Partly Awesome's here. That's Thomas. Welcome, gamers. Chat's being... Twitch is being dumb. Am I dropping frames at all? I am. A little. Okay. Just a teensy bit, though. Shouldn't be too bad. I'm having trouble just, like, popping out the chat on its own on my Chromebook. Everything's acting very slow.
I'm watching the stream right now.
Where is the pop-out section? Switch to non-mod settings. That's right. You have to switch to non-mod settings to be able to pop out the chat. It's really obnoxious. Normal problems to have. Okay. Chat is now up. I can now read the things you're saying. Okay. That's Thomas. No. Joe Biden wins with 0 votes. Primary moment. Yeah, I completely forgot South Carolina was today. It just completely slipped my mind until you sent that screenshot. Thomas sent a screenshot to our group chat showing that CNN projected Joe Biden will win when no results have been reported yet. Journalism. Okay. So, we literally have nothing important to say. If any of you have seen Philosophy Tube's streams, this is basically just a ripoff of that method. If you haven't, basically what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go through a giant list of my notes to self about the video and just talk about them. We'll probably end up talking about like the making of it and things like that, and if you have questions about it, then I'll answer them. But for the most part, it's just gonna be me criticizing myself in front of an audience, and then you people can criticize me also if you want to. Philosophy Tube is cool. He's very cool. What did I have? What did I have? Oh, this is going to be edited down into the highlights of like the important things I say about the video, like whenever I'm poking like holes into the things I said in the video. Basically like a newspaper posting a correction or publishing a correction after like doing a wrong thing. That's basically what the highlights video is gonna be. So the full stream will be going up on my archive channel, but I'm going to edit it down to some highlights to put up on the main channel. Partially because I think it's important, and partially because I currently have 2 videos on the main channel. Maybe a slightly bit too left, like material possessions are a thing. No, they aren't. By the way, I am here. I'm just... Get ready for this in before Jake posts a link. Hi, Jake. Watching your stream in Opera browser because it lets me pop out the video so I can overlay it on top of the racing game I'm playing. I would just like pull out my Chromebook next to it, but you know what? That makes sense. So it's kind of like an extra history lies thing. I don't know what that is, but so I'm gonna say yes. like the journalistic integrity man I am. Audio sources want to get both sounds. That makes sense.
Well, Jake, then do what I do, which is I have my Chromebook open next to my laptop, which has Fallout 3. No, it's Fallout 4. And on the Chromebook, I have earbuds I put underneath my big ass headset. I do that. Suck it.
Let me know if like audio levels are weird, because there's music in the background. What? I think Emancipator's playing right now. Spotify won't update to tell me. Yes, it's Ocelot by Emancipator. Everything's really slow all of a sudden. Like my computer like has to readjust to streaming again. It's very strange. Yeah. It's so good, and so good. And the final episode of each set is here's all the things we fucked up off the cuff kind of thing. Okay, yeah, kind of like that. I don't think there was a bunch of stuff that I like literally just fucked up and got wrong in the thing. There were a couple arguments that I made that I like after publishing the video or during editing of the video kind of realized kind of lazy arguments, but I don't think I got like any direct facts wrong. If I did, then somebody should tell me. I'll be listening, just not typing a lot, so I appreciate that you read the chat. Good. Cool. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna take my face away so I stop looking at me and look at the camera. That's a problem I have where like whenever I filmed my first video, I had I was using a DSLR and I had the camera flipped out, the screen flipped out, and instead of looking into the camera lens, I would look at my face in the other screen. So like in the recorded footage, I was looking slightly to the side, which isn't as big of which is a bigger deal than like you think it is at first. Okay. Any big important things, or should I just go right in? First of all, does anyone have any like questions about things I said in the video, or like about the production of it, before I jump into to my own criticisms and then some outside criticisms?
I would honestly start with like your criticisms before getting into like.
Yeah, questions will probably come up naturally as I talk about it. But since I asked already, if anyone has a thing. Can't really like the stream setup with the nice chat UI and the music. It's professional yet relaxed. Yeah, I'm ripping off two people. Well, I'm not quite ripping off Philosophy Tube because I need colored lights to complete that. I don't have the bylights. I don't have rights to the bylights.
Actually, if you.
What, did you just give me your buy card? No, it's fine. It's fine.
You could use my gay headset if you want to.
I was messing with the colors on my light a bit, but my smart bulb is not very smart. It's fucking stupid. It is supposed to go through the entire color spectrum, and you can set it to any color. Something is wrong on the software end of my thing, and this lamp I'm using, I'm supposed to be able to change the colors of it. It only switches between blue and white. I don't know what the deal is. So it's either like deep blue, where like I'm just completely dark, or it's this like bright white light in my face. So I'm gonna go blind by the end of the stream. Could just get gamer lights instead. Everything gamer is RGB. Yeah. Buy lights, LMAO. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. Who else here? I just want to look at the viewer list real quick, because we got a couple more than usual. Commander Root is not here, thank God. I don't think Commander Root's even like counted in viewer counts anymore. Every so often I'll like look at my thing and it'll be like, you have 2 viewers, and then I look at the viewer list and there's like 4 bots in there that Twitch just didn't count because it knows they're bots but doesn't do anything about them. Yeah, they aren't doing anything bad. It's just they bother me personally, which is what should determine Twitch policy. Get on that, Jeff Bezos.
That's right.
Yeah.
Twitch and the Washington
Now, he owns the Washington Post, Amazon owns Twitch, which is a distinction without a difference, but, okay. That is a good phrase. I like that phrase. The malignant bots are there. If you don't like them, you can just ban them. That is true. I have blocked a couple, but not Commander Root. He is there just to draw my ire. Okay, so we've been up a bit. How long have we been up? 15 minutes. Maybe we should start talking about the thing that I started streaming to talk about. Okay, I made a video titled Sanders and Warren, the False Comparison, and it was comparing Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders to poke holes in the media narrative that they are the same, because they're not. Elizabeth Warren is definitely on the more progressive end of the Democratic Party, but she's been faltering on that lately, and even if you look at her, like, actual policies, when people say that, like, Bernie and Warren are the same in terms of their policy goals, they aren't. So that's what the video was about. Also, Cam, your voice is crisp in my ears, and it's nice. Baralku. Is it Baralku? Was it Baralku? It probably was. Right now, it's Dusk to Dawn by Emancipator. This isn't an exclusively Emancipator playlist. Anyway, I made that video. It's 55 fucking minutes. I was pretty happy with it, honestly. By the time I finished it, like, toward the ending stages of editing, I was really, like, I was annoyed with it. I was not happy with multiple aspects of it, and I just felt like it was a completely pointless venture that I spent 3 months on, and then it ended up being an hour and no one was gonna watch it. A couple people watched it. A couple meaning, like, it's got 40 views right now, which is a lot when you have, it's got 69 views right now. In sex number, which is a lot when you have 78 subscribers. So,
when the video itself is an hour long.
And with the video's an hour. I haven't looked at watch time though. It's probably mostly like clicks watching the first 5 minutes and leaving. I don't know how many people watched the full thing, but so I made this video. Once it was out, I like had come to terms with most of my problems with it, and I think it's a pretty decent video. It's a very well put together video, I think. Like, it's very clearly a finished product, whereas my last video, like, I liked it when I finished it, but there were a lot of things about it that, like, you could clearly tell, like, were either rushed or just, like, off, because I kind of filmed it in a rush for a school project. This one, by comparison, you can absolutely tell that I made this because I wanted to. Which you kind of, if you're gonna write a fucking 39-page script that totals to 55 minutes, let's hope it's something you wanted to do. But, so yeah, this one was definitely a lot more of a passion project than my One Floor Over the Cuckoo's Nest video. There was really nothing about it that I, like, had to, like, work around because something didn't work on the technical side or anything. There was one big thing, and that was that I had to refilm the ending monologue, which I originally did in... Let me switch views real quick. Hey, look, it's me a million times. Okay, so here's the video. Let me write a thing real quick, just for later. I have this set at this specific point in the video because I'm gonna talk about it later. But right now I'm gonna move away from it, so I need to write the time code. Okay, so I filmed the bulk of the video in this basic manner. Between high earners and low earners. So where I'm just like standing in front of a green screen and then I green screen it out and do a white background. That's how I filmed it, and I filmed the ending monologue that way. I had the technical side was perfect. I had no technical issues whatsoever with like the actual filming of the thing until the ending monologue where the audio was corrupted. So my two options were either use the camera audio, which was fine, but it's bad audio. Use the camera audio and just, like, switch audio sources suddenly in the middle of the monologue, which is awkward and terrible, and I didn't want to do it. Or refilm the thing, which I did, but I couldn't reset up this whole filming setup because I did this in, like, my... We have a shed at my house where there's a bunch of exercise equipment in it, and I moved all the exercise equipment out and hung a green screen. That's where I filmed it. And that's at home versus the dorm I live in. So that would be a huge mess to do. So I dressed in my bathrobe and filmed it in the dorm like this, which is really awkward. And you could probably like draw the conclusion that that was not how it originally was. But that gave me the idea to film this little vague short skit thing earlier in the video, where I'm also in my bathrobe and I grabbed the Billionaire Tears mug. And so that actually like connects to how I'm dressed in the ending monologue. And to top it all off, I did like just a short like 4-second clip of me in the bathrobe at the start. So like even though you can probably draw the conclusion that that was all added at the end awkwardly, it I feel like it still came together pretty nicely. Like it feels decently cohesive. Did the ending Donnie, did the ending monologue like feel awkward in the Switch? I feel like it did a little, but like
the main thing was it was pretty dark in the video.
Okay.
The video was a bit dark. The audio was a bit. I mean, it was different and noticeably so.
The audio was noticeably different because it's echoey in the shed I filmed in. That is an issue, but
the actual
the audio itself's better.
But like the actual, like the stuff you did, I guess the acting was good. I don't want to say acting.
That's accurate. Yeah, no, the video was definitely a bit dark, and it was way darker in the actual recorded footage. This is how it looked with a LUT and with a lot of color correction on it. I'm surprised it looked as good as it did in the final product because it was so dark I thought it was unsalvageable. But yeah, it's definitely darker than what it was because I had to. It was definitely like you can tell it's last minute. I put 2 lamps on books to light it, whereas like with
Oh, and speaking of lighting, the shadows were a bit heavy.
Yes, they were. Yeah, those were all things I noticed while filming and like just had to deal with.
Yeah.
Like to a certain point, you just have to accept there's not much I can do about it. This video comes out in 2 days. I need to get it done, and people aren't gonna care that much. Like that, I don't think people are gonna look at that and be like, "Wow, this makes this a bad video just because part of it's awkward." Like that's a thing that sticks with the person who made it. Once you watch it, like if you have big criticisms of the video, it's not gonna be, "Yeah, the last bit was a little dark."
Also, I mean, it's not like people are gonna watch this entire like 50-minute video, and then at the last 5 minutes when it's just different and weird, people are gonna be like, "Wow, this is a terrible video. Unsubscribe."
But yeah, no, you can tell like the lighting is very different because this one like as awkward as the filming environment was, it like looks decently professional. I did it in front of a green screen with a light, with a lav mic and everything, and even though there's a lot of holes in the production side of it, like a bunch of little techie things you can poke out, like the fact that the chroma keying is really awkward. Like if you focus on my hair in particular, there's a lot of shimmer, which is kind of obnoxious, but overall, like the aesthetic, I think looks decently professional.
My only criticism of that part, my only criticism on the video end, is just that your skin is really pale in the bright light.
It is, yeah, no.
But
that's just how I am.
Well, yeah, but that said, I am glad you didn't just like decide to go with a white background and say, okay, like a flat white.
Yeah, no, that was ugly. I did look at that briefly, like, okay, this isn't what I'm gonna do, but what does it look like? No, it's terrible, don't do that. Yeah, no, I green screened it out, put like a vignette. Is that how it's pronounced? Vignette? Vignette. Put shadows on the thing, and it kind of like if you ignore the little chroma keying things, like it looks like I just filmed it in front of a white screen. Yeah.
Despite the fact that you had that intro
Where I jump in
front of the green screen.
Yeah. See, I feel like if I'm going to use a green screen in a video, I have to use it. I have to at least one point during the video like acknowledge that it's there. Like that's just a thing that. I don't know.
That's fair. Yes.
Yeah, it opens on the weird green screen. Let's watch that. Yeah, there you go. Please stop making long video. Please stop making long videos. I love long videos. If you make something 8 hours long, please never stop making long videos. Okay, that's what I thought you wanted to say, but please stop making long videos. No! Here's a message, a little fuck. Please never stop making long videos is what I wanted to say. Hi, Nick. How you doing? Did I acknowledge you already? I saw that you were there, but I was saying a different thing. If you make something 8 hours long, I would love you forever, much like how I love Shay May and Matthew Matosis and Digibro. I will likely not make an 8 hour long video. In fact, I didn't know there was a skit about the mug. Shows how long the video was when I thought I skimmed most of it. That was supposed to be a ha, but then I just did a noise at you. Glad you didn't buy the mug. That would have been ironic. I did consider buying like a... I was gonna go on like a Teespring style like custom mug website and just print the billionaire like a knockoff billionaire tears image on it, but then that was like more expensive than I wanted. It would have been like $15 versus the $25 for the mug, for the actual mug, and like I figured, like once I saw it, yeah, I have to pay $15 for this joke and then wait for it to ship and everything. And you know what would be funnier? Just literally like clipping a piece of paper onto an existing mug.
Not even like tape or glue.
Yeah. Vignet. Don't do this again. The first time was fine. No. Yeah, no, that's not right. Make your own one. I'd buy it if delivery wasn't terrible. I'd buy it if I wasn't broke. Disliked. How dare you?
Think I'm a Bernie supporter. I'm broke.
By the way, Cam, you may need to restate what Donnie says. I can't hear him. Okay. If he says important things, I will restate them.
I'll just speak louder.
Yeah. That's a mood. Okay. So, how far are we in this? And I've covered like 2 points. 26 minutes. Yeah, no, okay. Jake was talking about how the aesthetic of the stream is relatively professional. Until I do this. And then you see me 50 times. It's more than 50. That's technically infinite. Okay. So, things I missed and should have included. Okay, you don't need the video proper for that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say I'm poor now that I have a mortgage. No, that means that you now have more reason to be poor. You're in debt now. Bold assumption that you weren't in the first place. Okay. So, things I missed and should have included. So I narrowed it down to 5 topics that I wanted to focus on, and I realized that I honestly did have room for like one more big one, because the housing section, was it the housing or the college debt section that's like only 5 minutes long, whereas Medicare for All was like 12 minutes long. I could have included one more topic, and so I covered climate change, Medicare for All, housing, college debt, and wealth taxation, which I kind of saw as the main things where people like see Warren and Bernie as the same, but they aren't. I did that disclaimer before I started talking about the proper policies, where I said I wasn't going to talk about queer and race issues, because they are pretty similar, like explicitly on those. They don't have stated differences regardless of their record. And this video intentionally focused less on like their rhetoric and presentation and history, and more on just like the core policy wonk differences. So I wasn't going to cover queer and race issues. I should have covered their disability plans, because I don't know their disability plans in detail, and that would have been a helpful thing just for me to know. If I was thinking, I would have researched them a teensy bit before doing the stream so I could talk about them now. But they both have super extensive disability plans, and I've seen a lot of disabled people praise Bernie's plan as like the praise him as like the one candidate who like clearly knows like their issues, like what kinds of holes we have in U.S. society in regards to disabled issues. And yeah, they have these detailed disability plans that I could have included, could have compared, just as a way to like just shine light on issues that people don't talk about and don't know much about, myself included, obviously. and just because like there was room for that. Like I could have severely like cut down on the college debt bit and just like said, okay, one eliminates some, the other eliminates all. That's really it. That didn't need its whole like dedicated mathy section like I gave it. That I could have given that time to like to issues that people don't think about. Which is what I tried to do with the foreign policy issue. Like people like standard U.S. citizens don't usually care about foreign policy, and I felt like that was a really important thing to cover. Same reason I put climate change first. That was deliberate. Out of all the policies, I talked about climate change first because it was the thing that's going to kill us, and a lot of people like don't bother to think. They don't think of it as the number one issue. They think of it as a big issue, whereas no, that should be the number one issue. Yeah, so I feel like I should have like just widened my net and looked at other kinds of policies that aren't usually talked about a lot. Whereas I drew distinctions between all the plans that most people know about. So disabled issues could have factored in there a bit. Foreign policy is the most important to me because I want to free ride your country.
The
Talk louder.
issues.
Talk louder.
Okay, the disabled issues thing. Part of the reason why people are saying that Bernie's plan is like the plan is, I mean, probably not directly. This probably isn't the most important part of it, but like, it's probably included in some way in Medicare for All.
Yeah.
His healthcare plan.
Yeah, those two. I could have even just like included a little like footnote thing at the end of the Medicare for All section just to like shine light on the issue at all, because that's very intertwined.
Yeah.
And like disabled issues have been like vaguely on my mind lately because I started working on subtitling my first video, and I made the decision that from here on out I want to have my videos fully accurately subtitled in English before I release them, just because like deaf people watch YouTube videos. I have a pal who's like who's majoring in American Sign Language, and they want to be an interpreter. So like I get earfuls of those issues a lot, and like it's important to think about, and it's something that like people in general need to be more inclusive of. So I was just thinking about that related to the ableism thing. Very minor thing. There's a bit in the video where I'm talking about Bernie's housing plan, and I'm like, there's so much stuff in this. Pause it and read the list for yourself. Okay, but what if you're blind? Blind people listen to YouTube videos. You're missing out on a ton in doing so, and you can't control that. But like, it would have been helpful for me to just read it. Like just read it quickly. Then blind people don't miss out on that.
Or even just people who like just want to listen.
Who are just listening to the thing.
That's probably less important.
That's the less important aspect. But yeah, that is a thing. People just listen to video essays. Of course, I don't want to advocate that approach to watching my videos because I work hard on what it looks like. But there was a bit where this was a complete accident, but in the college debt section, I think there's a bit where like it does the section switch where it does the drum, the big drum, and has the chapter title card. And then I start talking about the plans, and I just refer to them as the plans the whole time. I don't say the words college debt until like halfway through the chapter, which is kind of clumsy and weird. And I lampshaded that in the video. There was a little title card there's a title on screen that said, haha, if you're listening, you don't know what I'm talking about. But like that also, like that's a joke at the expense of people who just like listen instead of watching when they have the ability to. But also, blind people wouldn't know what I'm talking about until halfway through that. So that's I need to be a little mindful of that. I watched your video at work, so I didn't watch most of it. Yeah, no, yeah. And that's the kind of thing I want to work on. What was it? I was technically in debt before UK student debt is weird because it isn't like a real debt, while there's mortgages, if I fuck up, I'm going to get railed kind of debt. Okay. Just realized conservatives have no problem with disabled people asking for like ramps and braille and all that, but the minute gender inclusive bathrooms exist, I don't remember exactly what you said. Were you against public option? I'm against public option. Okay, public option is like an incrementalist thing that would definitely improve upon where we are now, but it's not what we should be fighting for. We should be fighting for like real Medicare for all that eliminates private insurance, so that there's not a tiered system anymore. I did argue in the video about how oh god, let me kick the microphone. I did argue in the video about how keeping a public option while retaining private insurance would mean that like there's an incentive for the government to not keep the public option adequately funded because rich people would be paying for private insurance that would be like that would inherently be higher quality than the government funded plan. Whereas if you eliminate private plans, then the government funded plan has to be highly funded because it's what everyone is on, including like the wealthy donors and things like that, and there's no more tier list. Everyone's on the same thing. Someone in another Discord server tried to argue the NHS is the public option actually because private insurance exists. I mean, is that wrong? I know private insurance does exist in the UK, but I don't know how. I don't know exactly what form that takes. Because like people do like people like Pete Buttigieg will argue, well, other countries still have private insurance. I don't think I'm informed enough on that side of it to know if like, is that private insurance like specific to things like cosmetics and things like that? Or is it literally like, you don't need to you're not enrolled in the NHS, you are instead enrolled in this other thing. Plus, all the forms of the public option that people are putting forward is like, you can buy in at a cheaper rate, when that's contrary to what the whole fight for universal health care is in the first place. We're not talking about access, we're talking about getting health care. NHS is public option, everyone has to pay into it, but waiting list is huge. NHS also doesn't cover everything. Paying into it doesn't necessarily mean it's public option. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Was there a thing? When 20% of conservative memes are, I'm going to commit assault on an innocent people. Okay, so...
The grammar works because it's a direct quote.
Huh?
The grammar works because it's a quote.
Yep. Yep.
Dumb.
Okay, so... What else did I have? Okay, so when getting ready for the stream, I had a Google Keep note listing all the things I wanted to talk about. And then I was like, okay, I want to be a little more organized with this and like split it into sections. So I'll migrate it over to a Google Doc and like split it into sections before starting the stream. I didn't have time to do that fully. So now I'm working with both a Google Doc and a Google Keep document. So, let's keep going along the lines of like what I should have done that couldn't have been like fixed in editing. Less production things and more just on the writing side of things. What could I have done in the script phase differently? I mentioned I should have included things about like disability plans. At least like mentioned a tiny thing. Another thing, for the next like this video, it's an hour long and there is nothing to like intersperse the chapters to like keep your attention. It's just an hour straight of the same thing until you reach the like coffee mug skit, which is 8 minutes before the videos end. 7 minutes before the videos end. So the 48-minute mark in a 55-minute video, there's a switch and then an aesthetic change, but otherwise it's just an hour straight of the same thing. I definitely should have included, like, some sort of thing. Like, at the very least, like, PhilosophyTube does this a lot, where the video itself is very much the same kind of thing throughout the whole thing, but each chapter, the light is a different color. So, like, that's a tiny thing that you'll at least notice, and, like, it's making you notice a thing, which will keep your attention on the video. Whereas, like, if everything looks the same, and there's no skits or, like, anything to break it up to keep your attention, then you're kind of gonna glaze over, and I feel like this video definitely had that in spades. Like, if you're already accustomed to watching really long videos, it's fine, which I am. So, like, if someone else were to publish this video, I would be fine with it, and I wouldn't see it as a problem. Like, man, you should have done things to make me less bored. but that's not most people don't watch hour-long YouTube videos all the time. That's just me. So I feel like I should have at least, I don't know what I would have done, but like just some things in the script every so often to like wake up the audience. I'm gonna keep going back to Philosophy Tube because he's he's the big example for everything. His latest video on data is a short film that's just 30 minutes of just basically Socratic dialogue between two people, just a 30-minute conversation between two people. And halfway through, or 2/3, somewhere like that, the whole thing's filmed in black and white. Halfway through, it switches to color, and the conversation stops, and one of the characters just starts reciting a poem. It's a little bit weird, and I didn't understand the point of it, but I watched his stream about it afterward, and he said the whole point of that was just to keep the audience, it was just to make sure the audience is still awake. So, like, if you understand the poem's reference, then cool, you get that extra little bit. But if not, like, it's just there to make sure you're paying attention. It's a change. It's just a shift. I don't know what form that would take in this kind of video. I just want something to that effect where it's not the same thing for an hour.
With that poem, when it happened, I kept, like, whenever I was watching the video, I would keep, like, going back to where that clip was, just to hear the poem again and try and understand what it meant.
I did that too. I still don't get it. He even explained it in the stream, and I still don't get it. What was I gonna say? Okay. Okay. Different settings go a long way. Like sometimes people will sit in their car or whatever. Yeah, things like just little changes like that. Like okay. Maybe I'm wearing a different costume to, like, relate to what I'm talking about now. Maybe I'm just filming in a different spot. Maybe even just from a different angle, different light color, things like that. Just something to just make it not look like the same thing for an hour straight. ContraPoints' latest video on cancel culture. No, wait, she made a video after that. Her second latest video. Her video on cancel culture, she changes setting like every 10 minutes in the hour-long thing, so there's like 6 different settings and costumes in it, even though like thematically or structurally like there's really no reason for it, but like just that, like it's there and it keeps your attention. So I don't know, things outside of the just things on the aesthetic side. Okay. Okay, oh, and along those lines, I want to do more, like, unique, I don't know, filmy things or skits or something. I actually had something planned that I had written out in the script and then just didn't do because I didn't have time to film it the weekend that I filmed. Actually, it wasn't a weekend. It was a whole month, and I waited till the last week. But I had an intro planned out for the video that was more than just like the. I have an actual cup. And more than just me like kicking in front of a green screen. But there was an actual thing where I was it was a montage of me like getting ready to go vote. The opening shot was like just me waking up in a panic, like it's election day, and then like monologuing to like an invisible person, like just someone as if the camera was another person, and just like talking to them about who they're gonna vote for, and then just being like fucking incredulous at the fact that they're not voting for Bernie Sanders and they're voting for Elizabeth Warren. And then it was like this minute-long skit thing, and then it was gonna end on, I guess I need to write a fucking script then. And it was just gonna be it's not genius or smart or funny or anything, but it was like, it was a skit type thing with different shots and everything. Just before like you're settled into like an hour of the same shot. It was along the lines of like, just make sure it doesn't look completely the same the whole time. Just some sort of intro. I want to do things like that. I don't know what forms those would take, but I want to get like kind of more elaborate with like more filmy type things. Use different unique shots for even just like cutaway gags or something. Because this didn't have any of that. This was just, hey, Look, it's me. I'm talking, which is fine. That's not real. That's not a weakness of this video. That's it's just something to think about for next time. Cam, what are your thoughts on red, white, and blue Brexit means Brexit? Am I supposed to say anything other than that's fucking stupid? If my college comm and writing classes have taught me anything, that's also a way to help relate to the audience or help the audience relate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just in general, I want to do something a little more than just talk to the camera video essay things. And that's really because, like, all the video essays I watch have, like, some big artsy component, and I'm a fucking wannabe. But, you know, I want to go a little more elaborate at some point. But I don't want to be, like, pretentious about it. Like, if the subject matter isn't, like, deserving of a giant artsy aesthetic-y thing, then don't do it, because that makes it seem like really self-important. Like, I want to do a video sometime soon, like just a short 20-minute thing about Star Fox 64. That's probably not gonna need like a bunch of costumes and intro things and ending monologues and blah blah blah. Like, that's not gonna be necessary. Thought about doing a podcast. I know fucking everyone does it, but like maybe I would need something to like. I would need a unique like approach to it. I have thought about it, but that's less because like I've been like, man, it'd be cool to do a podcast. It's because I just started listening to podcasts lately. That's I am an imitator. I will probably not do a podcast unless like there's something there's like a specific subject matter to talk about and like approach it in a way no one else does. I don't think it's enough to just be like, you want to hear my perspective on these things? Because like I'm not famous enough for people to like come specifically for that. Like it would have to be some weird niche thing. Like I'm not gonna start talking about podcasts.
Well, the thing is that like you could do like our journalism class have been focusing a lot of attention these days in my journalism classes seems to be focused on podcast journalism. So you could always just do like a weekly, you know, here's some big events that happened this week in politics or just general news. And then like give your thoughts after that, and that's pretty much just like what the New York Times does, basically.
I mean, yeah, no, that's definitely.
You could always literally just do like, here's my podcast about my opinions.
But see,
like,
see, the thing is like I don't have this like avid drive to want to do a podcast. I would need like an inspiration, like a unique idea to make me be like, man, I want to make this happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas like that kind of approach is just, man, I want to do a podcast, and if I did, yeah, I'd do that. But
don't get the whole podcasting thing myself, so I guess I'm just gonna be lagging behind.
Yeah. You know, podcast I listen to lately is Worst Year Ever. It's a 2020 election podcast, and they like have a specific mission statement in the podcast, which is do giant like hour-long deep dives on every candidate, like just digging up things from their history and talking about them and their record. To either scrutinize or praise them for said things. And they've done like hour and a half on Bernie Sanders, hour and a half on Elizabeth Warren, hour on Amy Klobuchar, things like that. And like if I were to do a podcast, it would need to have like a specific mission statement that made it different. Well, yeah, I'd probably watch a political podcast from you though. That idea sounds fun. Yeah, no, I'm not averse to it.
But like, there's no like, it's not. It has to be something jumping out at you.
Yeah, it has to be more than hashtag content. I stole that. Damn it, I just talk like Philosophy Tube now. I should stop watching YouTubers.
Okay.
We could look at really minor candidates and parties in 2020 and take the piss out of them. That might be fun. Bill Weld. Weld wave. From an outside perspective, why are the Dems even having a primary when literally only Bernie could win versus Trump? Okay, I need to move on. How long have I been streaming?
We should probably answer that question.
Why have a primary?
Well,
Because democracy?
Why are the Dems having a primary? Maybe the question is more like, why is there still a primary when it's
I don't think that's like a serious question. I think that's like, why bother?
No, I don't know.
Shh, don't tell the self-hating neolibs that. Okay, other things that were in the writing phase. Biden is leading with 7% reporting. Biden's gonna win South Carolina. Like, there's a chance Bernie will win. Biden's probably gonna win.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the first time Bernie loses. But even then, he's gonna get second.
Biden's, like, again, the most recent, I say again, like I've said this before, Biden's been kind of improving with his debate performances lately. Like, the one where Bloomberg was introduced was, I think, his best. And then the latest one is, like, his second best, I think. Though that's probably partly just because, everyone was booing Bernie half the time.
Are we worried about this at all? I'm kind of freaking. No, it's fine. You don't have to win every state. Bernie, no one, like, there are people who think, like, yeah, Bernie's definitely gonna win. I feel like that's kind of delusional. There's a chance, but I don't think he's gonna get it. We went into this knowing Bernie was gonna lose South Carolina.
I'm not worried about South Carolina, especially just because isn't Bernie the only candidate to win, like, the primary in all three of the first?
So that was a thing that was going around as like a really impressive thing. To repeat, Bernie is the first to win the popular vote in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. That's kind of inaccurate, or well, it's accurate only because this was the first primary where Iowa and Nevada were reporting the popular vote at all. So that's why he won, and he's the only one to win the popular vote in both states. That it's kind of disingenuous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting major deja vu for some reason.
Yeah. We did LMAO okay. I thought he'd sweep because of black support. Biden has more black support than Bernie. That's been changing, but he still has more.
Thanks for the visual reference.
You're welcome. Trump lost like 15 contests in 2016. Keep in mind. Yeah, no. Okay, I'm gonna move on to video things. Okay, so on the but I've been talking about things that I should have done differently in writing the script. Things I should do differently before writing the script at all. When doing the research, I should write down all my fucking sources instead of being like, I'll remember where I got that and then find it later. That's not like an intentional thought process I had, but there was a ton, what did I write here? So the writing process for this was I was doing a lot of research in a ton of news articles and reading their websites and everything. And I wrote down all the statistics, like you do, writing down all the things I needed to know that I was planning on using in the script. And then I closed the tabs. And didn't save the links where I got them. So, just not that I intentionally was like, I'll get them later. But that's what ended up happening. I had to go get them later, and it was really obnoxious and added like a good few hours to the production that didn't need to be there. Just me going back to sources that I'd already written things down from. I just need to deliberately next time write down where you got your fucking statistics, you dipshit.
Baby.
Browser history? Oh, yeah, no, that's where I got them. It's just very obnoxious. Do you not learn anything from the Holocaust Project in Miss Guidry's class? Always use index cards. No. I guess Google Keep is my new index cards. Bernie has 20 plus offices in California. You want to know how many offices Biden has? Haha! One! Yeah, no, Bernie's getting California. Bernie's getting most Super Tuesday states. It is fine that he's not going to get South Carolina. Okay, so, I already covered the excluding blind viewers with the just pause. I did that in the One Floor of the Cuckoo's Nest video, too, where, like, I would do giant text blurbs from the book while talking and talk over them to like make my point about the things. I'm not saying I need to stop and just read the quotes directly, but there was a lot of like in that video particularly, but some of it in the Warren video as well, where like there would be giant text blurbs and I just expected you to pause to look at them. I'm kind of like going back and forth on whether or not that's actually a problem, because like when making this, I definitely have in mind this is a YouTube video. People are going to be watching on their own with full control over how they're watching it, as opposed to like a movie where you can't just like, hey, theater, fucking pause so I can see the freeze frame gag. Like in a YouTube video, I expect you to, if there's a joke that lasts a single frame, you're going to pause to look at it, and I know you're going to do that, so what's the point in shying away from it? But at the same time, I don't know. Do some basic Premiere stuff where the text pops out, maybe. Like giant text blurbs, and then like have a single bit of it like come forward. I did that a lot in the Cuckoo's Nest video. I'm actually surprised I didn't do any of that in this video. Not that like it just, for some reason, it just never occurred to me, even though I used it in the previous video. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Frozen face cam. No, it's not. Okay.
Liar.
Idiot. Oh, this is a giant text blurb that I don't even remember. I remember writing, but I don't remember the context of it. Or contents of it. Okay, yeah, this is kind of fair. So when writing this, I kind of realized toward the end of the writing process, this isn't just a Bernie Sanders is good, Elizabeth Warren is worse video. It was also, like, I kind of treated it as a vehicle to just tell the fucking world and establish on my YouTube channel, hey, did you know I'm a leftist? Because my last video is just, like, media criticism of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, whereas this one, like, was, like, the first explicitly, like, worldly political video. So it was, like, my first chance to like just get my opinions out there and be like, this is what I think. So that kind of influenced which topics I chose in particular. I talked about the military so I could go on a fucking rant about how raising the military budget is bad for X reasons. And as a result of that, there were some bits in the script that I felt were kind of preachy, and also some bits where I just like I touched on things and then like kind of glossed over them. When like the intent for like Jake actually pointed out when we talked about it the other day, there's a bit in the video where I talk about how Elizabeth Warren supports ICE and how that's a bad thing, and I kind of just gloss over the reasons that ICE is bad and how it was founded on like racist principles, and it's not even like a really important necessary part of U.S. border policy. It was established in 2004. There's a ton of like history to ICE that like goes behind that statement that I just didn't cover at all. So the statement really didn't need to be there at all, but it was there so that I could get out to the world, wow, I think ICE is bad. That didn't need to be in the script. I was treating this like half like a Bernie Sanders good video and half like a lefty manifesto. So it was kind of moved between voices every so often, I felt. But also I don't think like most people are gonna be like, man, this was fucking super preachy. Like, it's preachy in the bits where I'm passionate about the issue, and like that's to be expected. This it's kind of just a thing that like for me. Leftism. I hate the word leftism. Like, there isn't a right-ism. That's fair. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, there were a couple more clips after. There's a bit in the video where I'm like, where I go on this like super fast, like passionate, angry tangent about how like raising the military budget is morally wrong because the military is historically just used to destabilize other countries for profit. There were a couple more clips where I belabor that point a little more, and I cut them because it's like, bitch, this isn't a video about why military spending is bad. This is a video about how Elizabeth Warren is more in favor of the military than Bernie Sanders is. You don't need to belabor that the military's bad. Like, you kind of went into this with the idea that whoever's watching this will know that, like, super high military spending is a bad thing. But I filmed all this stuff about why it's a bad thing. Well, no, that's not really necessary. You could do another video on that. or direct people to other things about that. Okay, I think that's it for like conceptual issues where like before I even started, maybe I should have had a different thing in mind. Here we go. On the production, maybe I could do production side of things now. So you probably noticed that throughout pretty much the whole video, the light was reflecting in my glasses a ton. Let's try and get a visual on that.
Shows that actually taking into account what each worker.
It's not near as bad as it could have been. I was definitely aware of it in the moment, like during filming. I didn't feel like there was much I could do about it just because of the environment in which I was filming. But like in certain angles, like there would be no reflection. I actually have no idea how this looks in the camera. At certain angles, there'd be no reflection, and then I'd turn my head and there'd be a reflection, which like is a lot better than there just being like a dot in my glasses the whole time. But like I can prevent that, and I should. So that's a really minor thing. Another thing that I realized after the fact, so I used a lav mic for this one, which I didn't in my One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest video, just because I didn't have a mic to record on, and because it was a school project, I didn't really pay a ton of attention to the production side of things. I just put up a light, set the camera on a tripod, and go. So I used the camera audio. There was no voiceover. There was nothing like that. This time I used a lav mic for the first time that I've ever done that. So, like, yeah, there were going to be a couple hiccups where I was probably using it incorrectly. This is the Rode. I have it right here. Hey, look, it's the Rode Smart Lav Plus. So the whole idea behind the design of this mic is that you can plug it into your phone and use it, and that's what they expect you to do. Like, if you plug it into a standard recorder, it doesn't have enough power to even function, so I have to use my phone. The Rode app, though, that you're supposed to record on, does not have an Android equivalent. It's on iOS, so I used a recording app on Android. This story's getting way too long. I used a phone recording app, and by default, automatic gain control was enabled. And if you don't know what that means, that basically means it's trying while you're recording to normalize the volume to like a decently like equal level. So if I go super high, it's gonna quiet it a little so that it's equal to like my normal speech. And if I'm whispering or talking quietly, then it's gonna raise it to be equal to like my normal speech as well. Which is a good feature to have. It's a decent thing if you're like streaming or something, if you're recording a thing where you don't plan to edit the audio later. But obviously I planned to edit the audio later. So all the result was that like the audio was like less quality than it could have been because it was constantly like adjusting the volume throughout the recording, and that led to some distortion at some bits because it just didn't adjust properly. Like there were some bits where I screamed or even just talked loudly and the mic clipped, where if I didn't have automatic gain control on, I could have like just lowered the gain and then my loudest yell wouldn't clip the mic. So yeah, that's a really minor thing that people like probably didn't think about that, but use a lav mic from my laptop with a Rode adapter. Yeah. Okay, the green screen. I didn't hate it. I'm actually pretty okay with the aesthetic overall, but like I did mention this earlier, you can tell that my hair is shimmering and the chroma key did not like work well with my frizzy hair. And this is when I like put coconut oil and shit in it to keep it like to make it look nicer than it usually is, and to just keep it down so there weren't stray hairs everywhere, because the stray hairs really mess with the chroma key. Yeah, no, it didn't play well with my hair. Otherwise the aesthetic was fine, but it would have been like noticeably better if I just used a white screen instead of a green screen. That's just a thing I can buy in the future that I can use instead, or do a different aesthetic. Oh, we're screaming about illegal immigration. I'm not gonna weigh in on that. Okay. So yeah, the green screen definitely served its purpose, and I feel like I was competent at chroma keying. I don't think the hair issues were like because of my own like post-production skills being bad. Like, I know how to chroma key a thing. I think it's just like, that's just the nature of the beast. Like, there are just some things you're gonna have to deal with that, like, you're not gonna be able to key out properly, and you fix that by not having to key them out in the first place. So yeah, so it served its purpose, and it proved that I can use it in the future if I want to do like a gag in front of the green screen, or do like or film a skit in front of it, or use it for anything else. But yeah, if I'm just gonna replace it with a white background in the first place, just film in front of a white background. So yeah, other thing, voiceover bits. I recorded this one in a recording studio on campus, which was completely new for me. I've only ever recorded on the fucking Blue Yeti. With USB, it's bad. It's not terrible, but for proper voiceover, you can do better. So I did. I checked out a mic from the library, and then I did a thing. It was XLR, used mixers and everything, and then I was way too close to the mic whenever I was voicing. So there are bits in the voiceover where I clip, which is, no, if you're recording in a booth, that you just shouldn't have clipping. You just shouldn't, because you have the ability to prevent that if you're gonna edit the audio later. No, I was way too close. And that manifests less in the clipping and more in the fact that despite having a pop filter, there were plosives. Like you know how a pop filter works, like it's supposed to prevent that. So yeah, there were bits where like there was the was really bad because like I was close enough that it was going through the pop filter and into the microphone. That defeats the purpose of having a pop filter. Just fucking back up from the microphone. Are you oohing at my scatting?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for minor technical things. Like actual argument content critiques. For one, let's go to the military budget section. Where is it? Hold on. For one, is it still up? Yes, okay. 3714. Okay.
Stupid and no amount of context could redeem it, but she was trying to promote a plan to move the military, the government's largest polluter, to an environmentally friendly energy system. That's fine, I guess, but I feel like one of the first steps in keeping the military from polluting is probably to slash its budget a bit. Just a little.
So that's a fucking stupid argument, and that's not how logic works. So, yeah, no, that argument's really flimsy. So if you didn't quite get it, I said basically, okay, here's Warren's, she made that stupid tweet where she's like, climate change is ruining our military readiness, and like, yeah, that's a really dumb tweet, and you shouldn't like cast climate change as a military issue. That's just not, no. So making fun of the tweet was fine. I'm okay with that bit. But then I elaborate, and I elaborate very poorly. So I mentioned the context, which people don't normally bring up, which is that she was proposing a plan to move the military to green energy. And then I say, well, if you're going to move the military to green energy, why don't you just defund it? That's how that works. As if, like, defunding equals decreasing pollution, when that's not how that works. That doesn't really map onto those are two aspects of an issue that don't really map onto each other. So, yeah, that's kind of just a throwaway moment that probably wouldn't, like, stick with you and be like, what? That's dumb. But it stuck with him. Yeah, no. So a pretty important thing that Donnie pointed out about that is that along with the fact that those don't necessarily map onto each other, it might actually go the opposite way, because the reason that like most businesses use fossil fuels is because they're way cheaper than like energy or than green energy sources. So defunding the military without the proper like energy regulations in place might actually make the military pollute more, because they have less of a budget, so they're gonna try and get more energy out of the cheaper energy sources, so they're still going to be using fossil fuels. Defunding doesn't mean less pollution from the military. That's a really dumb correlation to make, and that's not how that works. It might go the other way. So, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that very much at all. I thought it was weird in the edit, and I just didn't want to cut it because like I thought it made it flow a little weirdly. I feel like that would have been it would have been worth it to cut that and just deal with like whatever flow is weird, because that's just a dumb point. Like the content of the argument should be what's important above like how the video flows. So yeah, I didn't like that to begin with, and then Donnie watched the video and was like, hey, this is weird, and I was like, yeah, you're fucking right. So that's a thing. Another bit in the same in the foreign policy section as well, the North Korea spot, where she's talking about Trump and North Korea. I still stand by this argument for the most part, but I do feel it's important to make a clarification that I realized after the fact.
For denuclearization talks and
safe
president. Unfortunately, she's kind of a warmonger.
That's Bolivia. That
cultist.
doesn't
Oh,
matter.
hello. Warren has also condemned the idea of Donald Trump meeting
This is the
with
bit.
Kim Jong-un for denuclearization talks, and her reasoning is a tad flimsy.
I want to see our president succeed, because if he succeeds, America succeeds, the world is safer. But I am very worried that they're going to take advantage of him.
Hold on, you're afraid of diplomacy.
Okay, so I then go on later to say that like mainstream Democrats at the time were condemning Donald Trump for meeting with Kim Jong-un because meeting with a dictator is a big bad thing. And I kind of cast them, I cast them as like anti-diplomatic, saying diplomacy is bad, just like threaten them and then they'll stop, which there was definitely a lot of that on the Democrat side, but there was also a good portion of them where their argument was that the president shouldn't be the one meeting with Kim Jong-un. It should be the State Department. We should conduct diplomacy that way, because the president meeting with Kim Jong-un grants them like more legitimacy or whatever that we shouldn't grant them, whatever. It's still stupid, but it's not, fucking do war at them. And I definitely cast them as just do war at them, when that wasn't really every side of the debate. That's a mischaracterization of like what the collective Democratic opinion on Trump meeting with North Korea is. So yeah, I still think like, yeah, it's good that he met with Kim Jong-un, and more presidents should do that. Presidents should sit down with dictators and do diplomacy. Woo, because like you could argue like there's the argument I just said that like we should just do it through the State Department. It's gonna have a lot more of an impact if it's the leader of the country conducting the diplomacy. So if they're willing to do it, then do it. I'm not like a foreign policy statecraft expert or anything. So yeah, there might be situations where like the president shouldn't be the one meeting with them. But like in this case, still think it's pretty good that the Trump administration at least pursued diplomacy with Kim Jong-un. But again, mischaracterization on my part. I implied that the Democrats were like being war hawks on this issue collectively. No, it was kind of a mix of that with, no, we should conduct diplomacy the old-fashioned way through the State Department rather than the president, which like not an argument I agree with, but still diplomatic. Whereas I portrayed them as anti-diplomatic, and that's wrong. That is a mischaracterization. However, yeah, that's still like, that's not to give all the ground back to Warren, because she's still, as I outline elsewhere in the chapter, she's still very pro-military. I can't imagine she would like be super angry about threatening North Korea. Given that like her issue was, oh, the president might be taken advantage of. Okay, and the State Department won't. I should have connected those dots a little more explicitly and brought up the other side of the debate, and I didn't. I was just like, wait, man, Warren's being a war hawk. There was a clip that I had that I think I cut at the last minute for this reason.
Devastation. Meanwhile, Bernie's critique.
Hold on, let me find it. I don't know if I included this.
Has pursued. Yet somehow, but it is a little worrying that she seems to toe the national line of negotiation with our enemies is pointless. Just shake our nuclear sticks at them until they sit down.
I did cut this. Okay, yeah, that I cut at the last minute, or there was a clip after this that I cut at the last minute where I, after doing the shake our nuclear sticks at it, I pause for a bit and then look at the camera and go, which paints her as a bit of a war hawk, I guess, doesn't it? And I cut that for this reason, because, like, no, not really. That is a bit of a jump. It is a jump I understand someone making, mostly because I made it, but it's not, it's still a jump. It's not a natural step from, like, the, okay, him meeting with Kim Jong-un was probably a good idea. Tensions are rising and China's involved in all that mess too. Do war at them sounds bad to me. Agreed. Okay. Any other writing issues? Oh, I did want to bring up that Jake did say, Jake had another critique that I don't remember, but he said he wanted to send the video to other people so that to like sway their vote a bit, or at least give them ammo to like convince other people to vote Bernie. But he wanted to send it to other people, and he refrained from doing so because I said fuck a lot. Which, yeah, no, I definitely get that. I understand. And I brought that up to Donnie, and he was like, yeah, his swearing was a little excessive. That doesn't mean I'm going to cut down on it. I'm not going to, like, intentionally regulate my language to make the video more palatable, but I definitely understand that. I guess in a case like that where it's like, man, I want to send this to someone else. Yeah, I don't know. The one of the mission statements was give you the ammo to convince other people. You have the ammo now. Use it. I don't need to be the one shooting it. I made some comments about the ice thing. Oh yeah, and I talked about that already. That's right. Yes, Donnie.
I said, oh, that was a that was quick wins.
Yeah.
Smart boy.
Perhaps about how the issues stop at the leftist argument and not going further to connect it to greater policy. Are you talking about ICE there? I feel like I was pretty good about that overall. I specifically I feel like it was more a policy-driven video that brought in explicit leftism a lot, but still, like, at its core was focused on policy. Like, I specifically avoided, like, going into Warren's history outside of, like, the brief mention, man, she was a Republican and that's bad. I didn't, like, hit her on that aggressively like I might have done if I were making a more, like, man, Warren's not a real progressive type video. This was pretty explicitly just, like, a comparison of policy for the most part. When we were eating pizza, I mentioned how the ICE thing stops at the assumption that the viewers think ICE is bad. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that's what I talked about that earlier. Yeah, no, you're right. I definitely brought up some things and just kind of assumed, yeah, you're already a lefty. You know why this is true. Not necessarily. There's some things that...
We did kind of get into this because that's how we got on illegal immigration.
Yes. Sorry, I had to tune out. No, that's fair. Yeah, no, I talked about that. And then, yeah, immigration came up. So there's that. Okay, before we move on... Actually, I don't think I have... Do I have much else? I have a couple minor things. Like, for example, I used, like, super massive numbers a ton of the time when I was talking about taxes, and I would, like, switch between saying over 2 million and then, like, saying 2,562,000. Like, I feel like I needed to stick to one, and it should have been the just over 2 million one while showing the specific number on screen.
Or you could do the thing that, like, that newspapers do with names, where, like, you start with a really big and complex number, then later on you could just say over 2 million.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there was a, like, in the wealth tax section, or something. I think it was the wealth tax section. There. I do a bunch of math, and then the final answer is 2,342,242,934. You don't need to read that. I don't need to read that out like exactly. I could just say over 2 billion, and they get the point because the number is displayed on screen. If you want to know the specific number and use it in something else, it's there, but that does not flow well as like a writing or speaking thing. So that's a really minor thing. No one thought that, but man, it's really weird that you read the number exactly. I thought that. Production side, film somewhere less echoey. The filming here in this room it had better audio quality than filming in that shed. And granted, that was the only place I could film that I could find to like reliably like be alone and film the thing at home. So it's
Kick me out. No, unironic.
But yeah, no, that shed was not. Fuck, I keep doing that. Stop adjusting yourself. Yeah, no, the place I filmed was pretty echoey, and so the mic didn't really like reach its full potential. It was supposed to be this big jump in audio quality, and yeah, it sounded way better than the Cuckoo's Nest video, but it could have sounded much better. Okay. Question. I used a different style, like in terms of my cuts, than the last video. The last video, I like hid my jump cuts in that anytime like I had to cut to a different take, I zoomed in and then zoomed back out, so it looked like a natural thing instead of just jump cutting between takes. I didn't do that here. I planned to, but I planned to do it differently. With One Floor of the Cuckoo's Nest, I did digital zoom, where I just like, here's the frame proper, and then I just zoomed into it within Premiere, and I realized that's not a great way to do that, because that lowers that means that the close-up shots are going to be lower quality, because like it's already a 1080p resolution, and then you're blowing up the 1080p image without like properly upscaling it or anything. There's just not enough pixels in the image to do that without losing quality. If I was recording in 4K, that'd be possible, but no. So this time I was going to film the wide shots that I did, and then film close-up shots as well, and just do the script twice, which is something I learned from Dan Olson, Folding Ideas on YouTube. That's how he films his things. He just films the script twice. But his videos also generally aren't 55 minutes, and he doesn't run out of time when filming. So I only had time to film it once, so I said, fuck it, I'll just do normal jump cuts instead of like doing the zoom in thing. Was it weird? Like, did that seem unprofessional? Like, that's just how a lot of YouTube videos are, so I don't think anyone thought anything of it. But like, if you're thinking of it in terms of how professional does this look, then yeah, the other way is easily just more professional, and it's probably what I'm gonna do with the next video. But I do like the L and J cuts where the audio overlaps, though I think you left the old take on just a little too long in some ways. I'd say do both methods with less intense of each. Just uploaded a 50-minute video on the Snowman Law. Yeah, and he's done 3 hour-and-a-half long videos on the 50 Shades books and movies. Folding Ideas is interesting. Folding Ideas is very good. L&J cuts, as I said, were good, and I love the style. It's professional. I just think you dragged them too long. Okay. I think you're right in a couple instances. My philosophy on that was to cut on the blink. I heard this thing also from Philosophy Tube that I didn't like follow to the letter, but I generally did, where like there's this editing philosophy that your brain is a better editor than you are. So you do a take, and then you stop for a second, and then you blink instinctively. And generally, it's a pretty good idea to just cut at the moment you blink, or a couple frames before you blink. There were a couple bits where like I think I kind of overcorrected for my issues with the last video, where like I would blink too quickly and there just wouldn't be enough for me to do a J cut properly. So there were some takes where I did the line and then intentionally like just stared at the camera and kept my eyes open for as long as I possibly could so I'd have room. That turned out to actually bite me in the ass, because like if I just do it naturally, then like cutting on the blink just means there's just enough that the cut is natural. Generally, that's a pretty good rule of thumb that I learned just recently. And I generally followed that, but in some cases that meant, yeah, the take was a little too long. And yeah, watching it later, yeah, that made sense. What, you were saying a thing, I think, Donnie?
Yeah, I did a 2-minute video recently for one of my classes on, like, it was like in the style of, like, those typical news videos. And usually, we were kind of told not to do, you know, jump cuts, because you don't want to do that in like a professional news video. So what I did was that every time there was any kind of cut, I would just put some B-roll.
Yeah.
Like, I would cut to B-roll, and then like the cut between the audio mostly would happen during that B-roll.
Yeah, no, that's what I do in like.
But also this is like.
Yeah, no, this is a different kind of thing, but that's generally that's the idea behind B-roll for the most part. Is it's something to cover your cuts. So I did do a bit of that in last video, where the entire thing was filmed in front of the camera and there wasn't any like specific voiceover bits. There wasn't really need for that here, because I split it up specifically between these will be the live action bits, these will be the voiceover bits. But yeah, if I was just doing a thing that was exclusively just in front of the camera, yeah, B-roll would be helpful to hide cuts. Donnie equals right. I did that. Yeah. No, that's definitely that's what B-roll is. So are we mostly in agreement that it's probably better to better and more professional to like hide the jump cuts by cutting between like close and back, but like it's not as if this was bad because it didn't do that? That's kind of where I am on that.
I think honestly you just have like a toolbox of techniques to choose from at this point.
Yeah.
Where like you kind of have to think about the video and think about what would be best.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this one would have been a little weird if you like zoomed in every now and then for cuts instead of like using B-roll, or what was the other thing you did? The thing you did for this one.
For this one, I just did jump cuts. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I just think. I mean,
That's a good frame.
that's
That's a wonderful frame. I don't need the visual right now, so.
I think the zoom in thing looks a bit more like entertainment YouTube, where people are talking about comic books and movies or stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So I think that one works a little bit better with media, whereas this one is like it's like you're giving a lecture.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
In a good way.
Yes, yes. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going for that academic style, but he makes jokes sometimes.
I don't know why people don't like lectures so much. They're really fucking nice. It's the only thing is that whenever there's like a bad lecturer, you can like nod off and not pay attention, but like most lecturers I've had have been really good. Not even just really good at keeping your attention, but like they talk about interesting things and you want to listen, because this isn't related. I'm taking it.
No, but you're right though. I agree. This will destroy you on Spotify. This will destroy you on Spotify. Yup, that's it. I honestly forgot I had music on. Okay. Oh my god. I think I covered pretty much all of it. Is there all all the tech stuff, jump cuts, things I should have covered, disability, say fuck less, green energy. No, yeah, I covered everything I had written down. There's probably other things that if I thought more, then I would say bad about the video. But no, I'm pretty okay with it. I guess like big picture, it's too long. It could have been shorter. You brought up, and I agreed with you on this. You brought up that at the beginning, I spent way too long, like, just like, justifying myself in making this video and being like, don't worry, I don't hate Elizabeth Warren. She's alright. She's better than everyone else. That's not necessary. You don't need to say that. And if I do need to say that, just make it one sentence. Like, don't... Bleh.
Even if it's a long sentence.
Yeah. I mainly... Like, I did it because I liked the joke of, like, the... Elizabeth Warren is garbage, and here's why. And then Elizabeth Warren is garbage. Like I liked that. I liked that visual joke. It didn't need as much setup as I gave it. Like I did not need to talk at length. Like don't worry, she's not terrible. She's just worse than this one. Like that's not really a necessary disclaimer. This is just how primaries work. This is a good little wrap up stream. Thanks. Yeah, I liked this. This was nice. Hour and a half. Yeah, this is a good length too. Warren isn't deserving of praise. Unfortunately, under the U.S. system, she is. She definitely isn't deserving of praise when Bernie Sanders is in the race. It definitely wouldn't be from like a... Absolutely not from a European Overton window. Warren is like the average. Yeah, no, that's... Bernie's the compromise candidate. We don't need to compromise more. Everyone else is just a cunt except Bernie.
I'm glad this stream is filled with people who agree with us.
Yeah! Does anyone have anything they want to talk about in regards to the video? Like any questions about process, any things that you thought were a little flimsy that I didn't elaborate enough on, like just anything I didn't cover in the stream? I feel like this was pretty comprehensive.
Take your face off the screen.
It's not on the screen, I'm just looking at it.
No, I mean like take off the monitor because you said earlier you kept staring at your face and not the camera.
Oh. Well, I'm kind of looking through to see to see if like things will jog my memory. There's this joke. There's this freeze frame joke. That one. This literally the whole like mock-up a dictionary definition. That was a note I was leaving for myself for later. That was legit like do a fake definition. That'll be funny. And then like I looked at it 2 days later and I was like, no, you know what's funnier? Leaving the editing note in. That'll make 2 people laugh. How do you get to writing that much? I find it really hard to put long stuff together. Me too. I was legit, like this one, I didn't set out to write a long video for one. This was supposed to be like a 15-minute, here's why Bernie Sanders is good and here are some weaknesses of Elizabeth Warren. Like I tweeted and specifically was like, hey, do you want me to like make a video that I can get out in 2 weeks about the primary to like sway some votes if possible? And then I wrote 39 pages and released the video 3 months after that tweet. It was like I was really only able to make this one so long because like I was passionate about the subject matter. Like I'm just really passionate about wanting to get Bernie Sanders elected. So this is my activism. I can feel marginally better about the fact that I haven't been volunteering with the campaign. 15-minute. Yeah, that was optimistic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it started as just like a little ramble, and I was writing stream of consciousness, and then I was like, okay, let's apply a bit of structure to this. Here's like some chapters. Okay, maybe this will be a 30-minute thing. And then I started filling in the chapters with actual content. And then they were all long and could have been a video of their own, honestly. And this could have been just a multi-part, like, series. And more people probably would watch it. structure of it doesn't really work that way, though. If I were to edit it like that after filming the way it did. Yeah, no, the only reason I was able to go so long is because, like, I was passionate about it, and I'm, like, people make fun of Warren for being a policy wonk and, like, for making that the center of her campaign, and I definitely get that, and I understand, I understand that, and that's a critique of mine as well. However, that taps into specifically my sensibilities as well, because I'm a giant fucking policy wonk. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made this video almost entirely about just policy differences, as opposed to, hey, she was a Republican while Bernie was in the civil rights movement. That's a pretty important thing. Whereas it was just like a sentence in this video. People have made whole videos and written whole essays about that, and I could have done that. But because I'm a super policy-minded person, I made a 55-minute video almost exclusively about policy. Of chief importance, principle, the government's primary aim is to see some significant reductions in employment. Similar, main chief key... Wait, what am I looking at?
You're looking at the definition of primary.
That is what... Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Warren literally whiter than the average American policy flip-flopper. See, that's another thing. I was actually... Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't bring this up from the very beginning. Part of why I was hating this video by the time I was finished editing it, unrelated to just being, like, fatigued with the fact that the 55-minute video means months of editing, or a month. Another big thing is that, like, by the end of it, I just felt like the concept was flawed and outdated, because like I say in the video, Warren's been rushing to the center on a lot of issues, particularly like healthcare. Yeah, she wasn't aggressively flip-flopping the way she is now, and that can be its whole other thing that a person could talk about. It's like, just in the last week, she started accepting super PAC support. Like, and she justified it by saying, I did mention this in the ending monologue. The ending monologue kind of served to, like, briefly mention the holes that I wish I could have filled with this video, but I filmed it too early, basically. She accepted super PAC support and then justified it by saying, well, if the men have them, so should the women. Like, really? You were a lefty icon in America a couple months ago? You were the same as Bernie, and now you're like, well, woman, so that makes this okay. Like, what the fuck? I'm not usually the one to be all like, man, identity politics is bad, because, like, I feel like people who scream about that are usually just using it as a way to minimize, like, actual reasonable dissent from, like, people of color and women and blah, blah, blah. So when people scream about identity politics, it's usually just, like, a euphemism. But then you have things like, I'm a woman, so I should be able to have a super PAC. I don't have to stick to my principles because the men have super PACs. Bernie doesn't. You could fill that. You could fill that void as well. Take the moral stand. You can't fight for a thing and then go back on it because, well, the others are fighting dirty. Granted, this is a completely different topic, but that is kind of the inverse of my critique of the Democratic Party as a whole, is that they're often, like, really afraid to get their hands dirty and use Republican tactics because they want to take the moral high ground. There's a whole fucking Innuendo Studios video about that. It's really, really good. Had to do a thing, but now I'm back. Might actually hop off in a little bit to work on college stuff. This is fair. We're gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up pretty soon. Whole system is dysfunctional. This is true. Like, our system's first past the post, so it's broke, but at least it's consistent and makes some sense. I heard a terrible argument about equality recently. I gotta hand out signs tomorrow for Heidi Sloan. Yeah! What was I going to say? Oh, you mentioned first past the post. I kind of want to... I think I want my next explicitly political video to be something about the DNC, the convention, and superdelegates, and how that ties into, hey, if we just had ranked choice voting, this would not be a problem. That is a good idea. It's also a thing a bunch of people have already said, so I kind of want to take it more from the angle of less like ranked choice voting would be good, and more from the angle of everyone who thinks about it knows ranked choice voting would be good and more democratic. So why hasn't it been done? What's the incentive to not do it? Because then you get lefty candidates like Bernie Sanders winning the primary handily. Where they said wanting equality of opportunity leads to wanting equality of outcome. So people don't want equality because it's wishy-washy. They want freedom, TM. Wait. I can't, what is, wanting equality of opportunity equals wanting equality of outcome? Or leads to wanting equality of outcome? Or, I don't fully understand. Is it saying that, like, wanting equality of opportunity is bad because, like, it automatically means, like, you want everyone to be the same? It's like saying they're one and the same. That is not the same thing. Okay. Anyone else have anything left to say about the video? I think I'm coming pretty close to closing it out. Swiss cheese brain. What was your favorite joke in the video? Why did I put my Peter Griffin voice on? Hey, Lois, what was your favorite joke?
When I started laughing, I breathed in my hair. It went in my mouth and like down my throat a little bit. It was awful. Oh god.
There was jokes in the video. Bruh. I like this. This is a good. I like this template of stream. I'm gonna do this for all my other ones. I'm just gonna shamelessly rip off the philosophy tube method, but I have fewer viewers, so I can like be more direct with like people and what they're saying. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do these in the future. This is good. I like this stream thing, and like more cynically, it drives people. Well, I didn't get like. Nick showed up for a second, but I was gonna say, more cynically, it drives people who are exclusively stream viewers to my YouTube channel, because I feel like, you know, they're kind of two different audiences. Like my YouTube channel is, hey, you want to hear some big academic things? In my YouTube, and my Twitch is, watch me play video games. I'm like every other person who watches video games. It's not really like a very thinky type of thing, so it draws two different crowds. Like there are a bunch of kids in my Twitch audience. Not that like kids wouldn't like video essays, but I feel like if you're like 12 and you're like, man, I just want to watch someone be mildly funny while they play video games. When that person you're watching is like, you want to hear my opinions on the Democratic primary? They're gonna be like, no, I don't give a shit. Yeah, two different audiences, and I kind of want to make them overlap. So this is a good way of doing that, I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna sign off. I'm glad to be back. Depending on tomorrow, I might be back to streaming KOTOR. We'll be back to your regularly scheduled video games soon, very soon. All right, Cam, should I stream for a little bit after this?
Sure. Yes.
I feel like I was supposed to elaborate on that, but I don't. Like, there's nothing I need to say on that. Just, yeah, do it. Okay, I'm going to sign off. Okay. Bunch of children in my audience, cries in mid-20s. I'm not going to sign off because I'm going to keep getting distracted by the chat every time I say I'm going to do it. This is normal. Thank you for stream. Good night, everyone. Good night, Thomas. Good night, Partly Awesome. Good night, you. No. Good night, Jake. Good night, everyone else. I don't think anyone else was here. All right. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next time for Knights of the Old Republic. I'll make another video one day. Okay, bye.